Pandemi COVID-19 belum berakhir, bahkan angka lonjakan kasus semakin meningkat. Hal ini bersamaan dengan Badan Kesehatan Dunia atau WHO yang menyebut munculnya 4 varian baru hasil mutasi virus corona, yakni Alpha, Beta, Gamma, dan Delta. Keempat varian virus tersebut dianggap lebih cepat penularannya dan kini telah masuk di Indonesia. Oleh sebab itu, mari mawas diri dengan tetap menjalankan protokol kesehatan yang sama, menggunakan masker, menjaga jarak, dan cuci tangan dengan sabun. Berikut 5 hal penting cegah penularan COVID-19. Pertama, membiasakan diri mencuci tangan dengan menggunakan sabun dan air mengalir selama 40 detik dan tidak terburu-buru. Jika tidak ada air di sekitar kita, maka gunakanlah hand sanitizer. Kedua, gunakan masker saat keluar rumah dan berinteraksi dengan orang lain. Selalu jaga jarak dan hindari kerumunan. Ketiga, segera bersihkan diri dan ganti dengan pakaian yang bersih saat tiba di rumah. Hal ini mencegah penularan virus pada anggota keluarga. Keempat, menerapkan etika batuk dan bersin dengan menutup mulut dan hidung dengan lengan atas bagian dalam. Gunakan tisu dan buang pada tempat sampah tertutup dan segera cuci tangan dengan sabun. Kelima, hindari stres dan tetap optimis saat melakukan aktivitas sehari-hari dengan tetap menerapkan kedisiplinan protokol kesehatan pada diri sendiri. Biasakan saring informasi media melalui sumber terpercaya. Apabila Anda mengalami tanda-tanda penularan COVID-19, jangan panik dan jangan takut untuk segera periksakan diri Anda. Mari disiplin diri hadapi COVID-19. Mawas diri, menjaga sesama. Pandemi COVID-19 belum berakhir, bahkan angka lonjakan kasus semakin meningkat. Hal ini bersamaan dengan Badan Kesehatan Dunia atau WHO yang menyebut munculnya 4 varian baru hasil mutasi virus corona, yakni Alpha, Beta, Gamma, dan Delta. Keempat varian virus tersebut dianggap lebih cepat penularannya dan kini telah masuk di Indonesia. Oleh sebab itu, mari mawas diri dengan tetap menjalankan protokol kesehatan yang sama, menggunakan masker, menjaga jarak, dan cuci tangan dengan sabun. Berikut 5 hal penting cegah penularan COVID-19. Pertama, membiasakan diri mencuci tangan dengan menggunakan sabun dan air mengalir selama 40 detik dan tidak terburu-buru. Jika tidak ada air di sekitar kita, maka gunakanlah hand sanitizer. Kedua, gunakan masker saat keluar rumah dan berinteraksi dengan orang lain. Selalu jaga jarak dan hindari kerumunan. Ketiga, segera bersihkan diri dan ganti dengan pakaian yang bersih saat tiba di rumah. Hal ini mencegah penularan virus pada anggota keluarga. Keempat, menerapkan etika batuk dan bersin dengan menutup mulut dan hidung dengan lengan atas bagian dalam. Gunakan tisu dan buang pada tempat sampah tertutup dan segera cuci tangan dengan sabun. Kelima, hindari stres dan tetap optimis saat melakukan aktivitas sehari-hari dengan tetap menerapkan kedisiplinan protokol kesehatan pada diri sendiri. Biasakan saring informasi media melalui sumber terpercaya. Apabila Anda mengalami tanda-tanda penularan COVID-19, jangan panik dan jangan takut untuk segera periksakan diri Anda. Mari disiplin diri hadapi COVID-19. Mawas diri, menjaga sesama. Pandemi COVID-19 belum berakhir, bahkan angka lonjakan kasus semakin meningkat. Hal ini bersamaan dengan Badan Kesehatan Dunia atau WHO yang menyebut munculnya 4 varian baru hasil mutasi virus corona, yakni Alpha, Beta, Gamma, dan Delta. Keempat varian virus tersebut dianggap lebih cepat penularannya dan kini telah masuk di Indonesia. Oleh sebab itu, mari mawas diri dengan tetap menjalankan protokol kesehatan yang sama, menggunakan masker, menjaga jarak, dan cuci tangan dengan sabun. Berikut 5 hal penting cegah penularan COVID-19. Pertama, membiasakan diri mencuci tangan dengan menggunakan sabun dan air mengalir selama 40 detik dan tidak terburu-buru. Jika tidak ada air di sekitar kita, maka gunakanlah hand sanitizer. Kedua, gunakan masker saat keluar rumah dan berinteraksi dengan orang lain. Selalu jaga jarak dan hindari kerumunan. Ketiga, segera bersihkan diri dan ganti dengan pakaian yang bersih saat tiba di rumah. Hal ini mencegah penularan virus pada anggota keluarga. Keempat, menerapkan etika batuk dan bersin dengan menutup mulut dan hidung dengan lengan atas bagian dalam. Gunakan tisu dan buang pada tempat sampah tertutup dan segera cuci tangan dengan sabun. Kelima, hindari stres dan tetap optimis saat melakukan aktivitas sehari-hari dengan tetap menerapkan kedisiplinan protokol kesehatan pada diri sendiri. Biasakan saring informasi media melalui sumber terpercaya. Apabila Anda mengalami tanda-tanda penularan COVID-19, jangan panik dan jangan takut untuk segera periksakan diri Anda. Mari disiplin diri hadapi COVID-19. Mawas diri, menjaga sesama.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Now, we are in our second day of International Scientific Meeting in Nursing 2021, role of microbiota and sustaining TB services in the pandemic era. What can we do as a nurse? Today, we will meet in an incredible speakers from UNP University of Medical Technology and Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember. And we announcing to all participants, certificate will send to your email gradually in 1 week. as well as the certificate we'll give to those who join today's of the meeting by fill your data at the attendance list. And we will share the attendance links 15 minutes before today's meeting conference end. Thank you. Kepada seluruh peserta, sertifikat akan kami kirimkan melalui email secara berkala selama 1 minggu ke depan, dan sertifikat akan diberikan kepada mereka yang mengikuti seminar ini selama 2 hari dengan mengisi data diri pada daftar hadir. Dan kami akan mengirimkan link presensi 15 menit sebelum acara berakhir. Terima kasih. Before we move to the next agenda, I would like to invite all participants to have a photo session. Dear all participants, please turn on your camera and please keep your microphone on. Thank you. Now, we are going to begin our fourth plenary session. I would like to invite Ms. Aprilia Afidatul Hanafi, SCAP, MNS, as a moderator in this session. Let me inform her curriculum vitae. She was born in Lamongan, April 27, 1995, graduate of Bachelor in Nursing, Stikes Muhammadiyah 2017, Nursing Profession, Stikes Muhammadiyah 2018, Master of Nursing Science, Konkan University 2021, and working experience as adult nursing department, Gresik Muhammadiyah Hospital 2018 to 2019, and nursing lecture Muhammadiyah Lamongan University 2019 until now. For Nurse Aprilia, time is yours.
Okay. Could you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, thank you very much for the Master of Ceremony for giving me the time to lead the fourth session today. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, everyone. I'm Aprilia Fidatul Hanafi, and I will be the moderator on the fourth and the fifth session in International Scientific Meeting in Nursing 2021, the role of microbiota and the sustaining TB services in the pandemic era. Before we start our discussion today, let me inform you just few rules that we have to follow in our discussion. For the committee, could you share the screen of the rule of the discussion today? Okay. Okay, so for our speaker today is Professor Pei Van Lin, registered nurse PhD. She is the Dean and Associate Professor in the Department of Nursing, Yuan Pei University of Medical Technology, Taiwan. And she will discuss with us with the interesting topic that is the update in nursing care management in the pulmonary tuberculosis. And here we have information related to our speaker today for the working experience. In the 2004-2014 as Associate Professor, National Taipei University of Nursing and Health Science, or NTU-NHS, and in the 2013-2014 as Associate Dean of Nursing Department, NTU-NHS, and in the 2009-2013 as a Director of Health Center and the NTU-NHS, and in the 2016-2020 She is the Dean of the Student Affairs of UNP University of Technology, and in 2009 graduated from ICN Global Nursing Leadership Institute, or GNLI, and in 2020 till now, she is the Dean of Nursing Department, UNP University of Medical Technology. And for publication of our Professor Professor Pei Van Lin today, including book, chapter, and journal. The first is the title, Improvement of Depression and Anxiety in Patients with Chronic Mental Illness Using Aromatherapy. And the second, the comparison of weight loss outcome of overweight adolescent between cognitive behavior therapy and behavior therapy, a literature review. And the third, the development of community health nursing and public health nursing from the perspective of education. The fourth, integrated care for severely disabled long-term care facility resident, archive of gerontology and geriatric. The fifth, the teaching principle, the application in nursing participant, fourth edition, teaching principle, the application in nursing practice, third edition, and nursing research, practice and application, second edition. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we start our presentation today, I would like to inform to you how the session will be going on. First, Professor Pei Van Lin will be invited to presenting her presentation for 30 to 45 minutes. And then we will have a question and answer session for 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and followed by the panel discussion from the three oral presenter. And now, let me invite our speaker today. Please welcome Professor Pei Van Lin. The time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hanafi. Thank you for your kind introduction. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Good morning, dear colleagues. I'm Pei Van Lin from UNP University of Medical Technology. It is my pleasure here today to share you about the Taiwan's experiences about our pulmonary tuberculosis nursing care management. And I come from a city, it is very famous international because we have TSMC, which is the semiconductor manufacturer, very famous around the world. It is located in our city. So after this COVID-19 pandemic, I hope that we will have the opportunity that we can invite you all to come to this beautiful city to have the interaction. So first, I'd like to briefly introduce the tuberculosis in the history. As you see in the picture, this is the picture of Dr. Robert Koch. He is the people to discover the tuberculosis pathogen in 1882. Even that pathogen is discovered in the 19th century, but actually in our human history, the TB in our human history can be tracked back to 9,000 years ago. And for the written document, you will see that in India document, it can be traced back to 3,000 years ago, and also in China, that will be around 2,000 years ago. So actually, it's discovered recently, but actually TB is a very old disease, as old as the human development. So unlike other infectious disease, the pulmonary tuberculosis is a disease has the characteristic more like the chronic disease because there has a lot of disease determinants like poverty, like economic disadvantage, like some social culture stigma and discrimination. But actually in nature, they are over 25% of people who has the TB disease. If they can follow the 6-month drug regime, that can be successfully treated. So it is a disease can be treated and a very high curable rate, but it is really hard to do the eradication because there has a lot of determinants like a chronic disease that will influences its treatment rate. And let's look at some epidemiology statistic. It is the data come from the WHO. In 2019, you will see under this list, you will find even in 2019, they still have 10 million people who had TB in that single year. And another things we like to draw your attention to is about the HIV positive people with the TB. So that's another special population we need to pay attention. And for the demographic data, you will see the point, the last point. The male people tend to have the more risk to get the TB compared to the female, and following by children and the other people live with the HIV. And for the geographic reason, we can see their location. From WHO statistic, we will find that they has 3 regions has the highest incident rate of TB around the world. The first one is our region, the Southeast Asia region. They account for 44%, and Africa is count for 25%, and the last one is the Western Pacific. So combine all those 3 highest incidence regions, we will count for 8 countries. Those 8 countries accounted for 2/3 of the global total incidence. And the first place is India, and followed by Indonesia, China, Philippines, Pakistan, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and the South Africa. And when you look at this area, you can find out there are something in common. The first one, those country or region, they are categorized as the developing country. And the second, those country has higher population density. And the third one, because their cultural belief and their daily life, their daily practice. So those people, they tend to have more close and more intensive family interaction or kinship interaction. So that those factors, those we will say the comorbidity or those determinants will make those 8 countries become the 2/3, cause the 2/3 of the incident rate of the international. And for this slide, I'd like to draw your attention to the last point. The new challenge from the TB is about the drug-resistant TB, especially the MDR TB, the multi-drug resistant TB, and the other XDR, the extensively drug-resistant TB. And those are the new challenge. We will elaborate that more later on. This slide showed 2 figures here. In your left-hand side is the global status, and on your right-hand side is the Southeast Asia region data. So from this incident rate, you will find all the incident rate is gradually declined. But still, our Southeast Asia region has the higher incident rate compared to the global region. And for the black line, that's for the new and the relapsed TB case, they also has slightly increased. And I like to draw your attention to the red line, because the red line is a special population we just mentioned about the HIV positive TB incident case. For the global region, you will see that a little bit declined from 2000 to 2019, but for our Southeast Asia region, they remain stable. So that will be another spatial population we need to pay attention to. And for this slide, they shows the demographic, how the demographic factor influences the incidence of TB. And you will see for this age distribution and gender distribution, both in global or in our Southeast Asia region, you will find that male and the elder people they are more vulnerable to TB and compared to the younger population and their counterpart, the female population. And this slide shows us the treatment successful rate. And fortunately, we will see that almost reach the 100%. The new and the relapse case can be cured. And that's still rising the line. But there is one population I like to mention here is the last one, the light gray line. Okay, both in the global region or the Southeast Asian region, you will see maybe the incident rate and the treatment successful rate is not so high, but it is the population for XDR TB patient that should be paid attention to because they have more complicated in their treatment, their medication arrangement, and also the consequence and the side effect for those kind of people. And next one, we will talk about the COVID-19 and the TB. We all know recent 2 years, the COVID-19 draw all the spotlight around the world from all other disease, including the TB. So how the COVID-19 impact our TB elimination program? At least they have several ways to infect us. The first one, the COVID-19 disrupt our health service for the TB. For example, the new case finding, the case detection, and the case treatment, they all fall and diminished because of COVID-19 take away all the resource, the workforce. And the second, the COVID-19 induced the economic depression. So that increased the more determinant of TB factor like GDP. They decrease per person GDP and increase the problem of undernutrition. And those factors, they will influences the patient motivation to get a treatment and their affordability to get treatment. And the third one, the COVID-19 also take away the human resource, not only the financial resource, but also the human resource from TB. So all the medical workforce, they shift to the other disease like COVID-19. They put there a lot of efforts, their manpower there. So we will face the kind of a situation that we lack of manpower to deal with and to continue this treatment program and the follow-up case management. So also the data collection and the reporting also being affected. So in order to cope with the COVID-19 crisis, the WHO introduced the technology solution to cope with this COVID impact. Majorly because we are living in a technology world. So digital technology will be our weapon to deal and to conquer this kind of difficulty. So we can expand our technology for remote advice to give the support. Even in Taiwan, we have the web-based clinic. So people, they don't need to go to the hospital. They just through the web, through their mobile phone, they can make the appointment with their doctor and discuss his situation and visit the doctor through his mobile phone or through the web. And this kind of strategy can reduce the needs to visit the health facility. And we can transform our service type from the hospital-based to the home-based treatment. So they will decrease the personal interaction, but still remain, we can keep connect with the patient to continue our treatment. And also the other things is provide more supply of the drug for the people. So usually we will provide 1 week a time for the TB patient, but in this period, critical period of time, you may provide longer, for example, maybe 1 month for the medication for people, so they don't have to come back to visit the hospital or the health facility so frequently. So for deal with the tuberculosis prevention, WHO has proposed a project. This project has been proposed by WHO in 2015, and those are the vision and the goal for the program. And this slide shows the objectives for WHO's anti-TB program 2035. And you will see that's three major indicators. The first one is the number of death rate. The second one is the incident rate. And the third one is the family, the cost of disaster. The family was affected by the TB. So for these three major indicators, you will find for they using the 5-year period as a milestone. They accumulate their progress by 5-year period. So you will see the 2020, 2025, 2030. 2030 is a milestone year because our SDG should be achieved by 2030. And this whole program will be ended. The TB, Stop TB program will be ended by 2035. So by 2035, we expected the death rate of TB will be reduced by 95% compared to 2015 level. And for the incident rate, we will expect it to reduce 90% of the incident rate compared to 2015. So we remain the zero. We don't need a family. We don't want a family to face this kind of disaster. So the indicator of family keep zero. For this kind of anti-TB program, WHO proposed 3 principles that will serve a guideline for all the countries around the world to follow. Those 4 principles, the first one is talk about the policy support. Government is very strong support for all kind of health or public health policy. So accountability, monitoring or evaluation, those are the infrastructure for the whole surveillance or treatment program. So government support, policy support is the major issue and the most important thing. And the second one, they talk about the partnership. The partnership is not only for the government sector, but also the partnership between the government sector with the non-government organization, because the TB care is not only treat the disease, it is the comprehensive and very complicated treatment program. They need social support, they need mental support, financial support, medical support, all kinds of support. Even you have to change the atmosphere of the society, their stigma or their discrimination. So that's very complicated. So we need a lot of partnership together to put them together to help this program successful. And also during this program, we need to aware of the protection and the promotion of human rights, their equality, the access to get the equal service of the health service and social service. So that's the basic value of WHO. And the number 4, they mentioned that all the country can adopt those strategies, but do a little adjustment to fit their culture or their individualized needs. And also WHO provide 3 pillars to support the whole program. And majorly, the first one is about the service itself. It should be the patient-centered care and prevention focus. And the second one is talk about the government and the policy support. And the third one is talk about the research. So at the pillar 1, you will see that prevention work, for example, the early diagnosis, prevention, like vaccination or some preventive treatment for the high-risk group, and management some comorbidity and early diagnosis. Those are the patient-centered and the preventive focus. And the second one is for the policy and the support system. Here, I like to mention one important point here is the point C, the universal health coverage policy. And this is the policy for the WHO recent year. They are emphasized on this point to implement the universal health coverage policy for all the countries around the world. Because only under the universal health coverage policy, all the people, no matter what social economic status they are, or their ethnic or their color, different kind of economic distribution or location, all the people should have the equal right to access the primary health care. So the universal health coverage policy is very important and need us to put efforts on that. And the third one is about the research and the innovation. As we know that research and innovation is always needed because we need more effective and more efficient treatment for the disease treatment and the patient care. So invented those kind of research, they will encourage us to do that, to provide a more high quality care for our patients. That will fit back to the first pillar that we provide the patient-centered and preventive care. So there are 10 recommendations from WHO for the anti-TB program, and I will summarize into 6 different aspects. The first one is the strong leadership. That will be the public policy support. We mentioned earlier a lot about how important the government policy was. And the second one, the healthcare system, such as primary healthcare, universal health coverage to ensure the equality of health for all. And the third one is the financial resource and the workforce. And those are the major resources we need to implement any kind of program, not only the TB prevention program. And the fourth one is the partnership between the government sector and the NGO sector. And number 5, put more focus on the preventive care. For example, the vaccination and the preventive service for the high-risk population. And the last one is deal with the other determinants, like we just mentioned, the social discrimination, the poverty, the disease comorbidity, and the more important, like recent year, the new emergent infectious disease like COVID-19. So I will just go through this slide very quickly. I already mentioned the key points here. And for the next section, I'd like to share you about the Taiwan's experiences about how we do our TB management and the TB prevention. And this slide shows that in 2019, our TB incident rate is 37 per 100,000 people, and the death rate is 2.3. So compared to the WHO program, their objectives, we are lower than their standard. That means we're doing good, and we're still working on that. So you will find that in your left-hand side, the figure shows that we still have the incident cases happened all over the time. It is from the 2020 to 2021 till now. Okay, we still have the people, the case number growing and keep in a certain number. Even it's under the alarm level and under the threshold, but still, we still have these people, we need to help them to conquer the disease. And Taiwan also developed our own TB elimination plan for 2035 regarding the WHO program and for their guideline. So we conduct analysis of Taiwan's TB prevention program. And for the strength part, we found that we have well-structured of preventive system. For example, the medicine system, the medical laboratory system, the network, and also we have very strong public health and public health nursing network in the hospital and also in our community. We get together as a close cooperation and strong network that will safeguard our patient transfer from community to hospital, and after the treatment, they go back to the community. They all under the safety guard. And the second one, we are very proud of that we have the national health insurance coverage. By the coverage, we can build up our system and we can get the money, the finance resource to support many minority population who is undercover or who is not affordable to pay their medical expenses. And the third one, we have the policy support. We have a regulation called the Communicable Disease Control Act. By this regulation, our medical personnel, they have the government authority to require our patient to follow their medication regime or their treatment program. And also under this regulation, the patient, they has the obligation to follow the medication program and the treatment program. So it's two-sided. So the patient has the obligation and the medical workers, they has the responsibility to provide quality care, and they all under this regulation. And the number 4 is we has the efforts that put on the invention of the new medication. And besides the strength part, we also have the weakness of our program and our situation. The first one is about the manpower, the workforce issue. We have very high turnover rate of our EPIC worker, including our case manager. Because the nature of this TB management program, they are labor intensive, very time consuming, and every patient, we will say they have their special need. So for the experienced case manager, they usually will individualize, tailor-made their case managing program. So it's really very heavy loading for this kind of case managing work. So the turnover rate, you can imagine, because it's very stressful and very time consuming. So the turnover rate is really high for us. And also we need more NGO cooperation. Just like I mentioned earlier, the patient not only need medical help, they need all kinds of help, financial help, social support, and other cultural issue, and they have to deal with their the consequence, the side effect from the treatment. So all those kind of things together, we need multi-sectoral cooperation to help the people smoothly and get through this kind of treatment program. And some challenges we are facing in our TB elimination program. The first one is for our population constitution, Taiwan is an aging society and rapid growth of our aging population. We had mentioned earlier that elderly people, they are more vulnerable to get the TB. So if we have more aging population, then we can expect it, we will have more aging elderly TB cases happen in the future. And the second one is the LTBI, that's the latent TB infectious cases. Because this kind of cases, they don't feel uncomfortable because they have no symptom. So they don't feel they are sick. So there are lack of motivation to follow this kind of treatment program. And those medication will occur a lot of side effects that are really uncomfortable. So those kind of population will be another population we need to pay attention to. And the third one is our Aboriginal tribe. In Taiwan, we have almost 14 or 15 different Aboriginal tribes. And because their culture practice and their lifestyle, so they are more vulnerable to TB, this kind of disease. So usually from our past experiences, their incident rate of TB is higher and significantly higher than the other population. So the Aboriginal tribe is another special population. We will say that's our challenge for our future preventive program. And also the other things is of the frequent international interaction, for example, the business or the travel and the migration. And those kind of close interaction, they will create more chance bring the pathogen from one region to the other. So that's another challenge. And the last one is the misunderstanding and the stigma of this disease. Because in our culture, in our past experience, in my parents' generation, they believe that TB is an incurable, a fetal disease. So when people got TB, that means he's dead in the near future. So it's not curable. And the second is there has a myth also. They believe that people get TB because they did not practice their personal hygiene well. So they are easily to get TB. So because of this kind of stigma or misunderstanding, that will make those program prevented or even elimination program will more difficult to implement. So this is another challenge we need to conquer. And also I like to mention the challenge of our case management. The first one, like I just mentioned earlier, the long-term process for treatment, because it will stay long. 6 months is not too long for us for the whole life, but it's long enough for patient to get medication every day. So this long treatment process will make the patient feel upset, feel not really see where is the end of the treatment. So that makes the case management more difficult to do. And also insufficient primary public health manpower, because we have two major groups. One is from the hospital, one is from the community health center. But majorly this job will put on the public health. Also, we say that the community health nurses. So they really heavy workload for this manpower. And the third one is the uncooperative and the special cases. Like I just say that the LTBI or some people that like SDR or MDR patient, they are special cases. They have different kind of problem need to deal with. And those are the challenge for our TB case management. And how Taiwan implement our elimination of TB program. For the primary prevention label, we have several strategies. The first one, for the all newborn in Taiwan, if they are older than 24 hours old, then they will mandate to get the BCG vaccination. That's for the all newborn in Taiwan. And the second one, we have the health education for all level of academic campus, from elementary school to the university, because those students, they can be seen as the high population density campus. So they have close interaction between their schoolmates. They are work together, live together. So this is high density population, and they need to have the knowledge to aware of the TB, and they have to get the skill to protect themselves. And also the prison and the long-term care facility, they have the same characteristic like academic situation. They are also high population density, and they live together, work together, eat together. So they also need this kind of prevention program. And the last one is the chest X-ray policy. For our all health examination, the chest X-ray is required item for all kind of health examination. So then we can get this chance to find out the new case from each health examination. For our secondary prevention, we apply the DOTS. That's also the principle or the guideline from the WHO, the Direct Observed Treatment Short Course. So when Taiwan implemented the DOTS system for the TB patient treatment, we reached 95% complete rate in 2015. So we can expect it will getting higher in recent year after the 2015. But you know that if you want to reach this high percentage of completion rate, you will have to put a lot of efforts, the manpower, the financial resource, and all the organization cooperate. And we provide 4 types of the DOTS service. The first type is the hospital DOTS. That means the hospital nurse and then the physician will provide the DOTS and visit the patient. So the patient get their treatment, get their medication from the hospital. That's one source. The other source is from the community. So I just mentioned we have the community health center. So the community health center, our case manager or our public health nurse, they will provide the community cases, the DOTS service. They will visit the patient in the community and provide all kinds of consultation. And also the other type is institutional DOTS, like people live in the institution or basically they has a long time stay in the institution. For example, the student or the prisoner or the people live in the long-term care facility, they will receive this kind of service. And the last type is the cloud DOTS. Some people, they are not comfortable with the in-person contact. So they like to have the cloud contact. So it is an advantage for us because Taiwan has a lot of technology support. It's easy to get this kind of resource support. So cloud DOTS is suitable for the people. They usually use the web through the web to contact with people. And they can, through the web, to visit their physician, to have the consultation with their case manager, and they can get help from the cloud. And also we have several different management systems for special cases. We just mentioned in our challenge part, we have some special case. So we also developed some management system for those special case. For example, the MDR TB patient, the LTBI patient, and we provide experienced care manager, some advanced lab and intensive care support for those special need patient or uncooperative patient. And also we have another program called DOTS Plus program for the prolonged length of treatment. And the case in this program, they will receive at least 5 times visit per week. So that's really labor intensive and very close contact with the patient to give them the support. And for the all prevention label, we have a strong surveillance system to detect the suspect cases, diagnostic cases, and the exposure cases. And also we have a lab network internationally. So whenever the patient they can get the treatment, get the test, and his data can be transferred very efficiently to the people who live. So the case manager system will immediately get the data back, and they can rearrange their treatment plan. And for other resources, our country, they provide a free medication for TB for every patient who has the TB diagnosed. And we also have a side effect reaction system to handle this consequence and promote the patient's compliance. And for those patients who are economic disadvantage, the government provide the medical expenses coverage for those people they cannot afford it. So in conclusion, we still a lot of things to do and a long work to do. And the first one, we'd like to mention that social and health inequality still our challenge in Taiwan's TB elimination program. And the second one, we need to put more efforts to networking all the NGO and the government sectoral to build up a cooperative, a safeguard network. And the third one, we continually need a strong policy support in order to implement the whole TB elimination program in Taiwan. So let's work together to end TB by 2035. Thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Pei Fan Lin for the interesting and informative presentation, and also for sharing the current situation of TB disease in Taiwan. Is such interesting because we can see that the Taiwan health care management can manage the disease so well. And now we come to the question and answer session. Are there any participants who want to ask directly to the Professor Pei Fan Lin? And we also have already some question in the chat.
Yeah.
May I
okay. So that's the question asks about how to deal with it if the patient is in the rural area where it's mostly difficult to get signal to be connected to the internet to use the tuberculosis website. Okay. For those people who live in the rural area who has no connection with the internet, we have another system called the community health center, just I mentioned. No matter in any kind of geographic region or administration region, in certain area, we have an official station called a health center. They are located in this area. And those public health nurses, they will go to visit those patients who has no signal to connect the internet. So they will directly, personally deliver their treatment and provide all kinds of service directly to the patient's house. So that's another alternative to conquer the signal problem.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. So for Ms. Wahyu Retno Gumelar, another strategy to overcome the connection problem is in the Taiwan, they have each community health services in the village, right, Professor? Okay, so we also have another question. I will read for Professor Pei Fan Lin. The question from Ms. Tias Ayu. Since the aging population rapidly increase worldwide, also pandemic COVID-19 still present until now, how to manage this population, the elderly population, to keep in track of healthy based on nursing perspective and alternative Chinese medicine? Thank you.
We have some strategy to help to keep this aging population healthy. Actually, from our experience and our statistic, our aging population, they has really high health education related knowledge. They practice healthy life. They has the highest advantage of daily exercise in our country. around among all the age population. So they has the awareness to keep them healthy, to practice the healthy lifestyle. So that's the I will say that's our strength or our advantage of our aging population. And also our aging population, they get the information from the TV, the commercial. So we use the TV commercial to give them a lot of health education, the knowledge how to protect themselves from the infective of the COVID-19 and all kind of disease, including the TB. And we are not really encouraged using the Chinese medicine to promote their health because we believe there's not sufficient evidence to support this kind of practice. We may need more research, but it is the good way to put more research on that because it is another alternative for people to keep themselves and keep them health. So maybe Chinese medicine is another way to do it, but need more research to prove it, to help the people really can use it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Pei Fan Lin for the answer. So for the second question, we can conclude that in the Taiwan, no matter what kind of population, they have more awareness about the healthcare, right, Professor? And for the Chinese medicine, we need more research to prove that the medicine is really effective for the TB disease. Okay, Professor, we still have some question here. The third question is from Ms. Siti Hasana. We know we are facing COVID-19 pandemic. Is there any treatment and management for COVID-19 patient with TB comorbid based in Taiwan experience?
Okay, actually, if people has TB and they got infected by the COVID-19, they will tend to become the severe case of COVID-19. So in our hospital ICU, they will treat it at the same time. So they will deal with their respiration infection problem. Also, they will combine and continue their TB medication together. So those kind of people, if they already got infected by COVID-19, in our system, those people will be sent to the hospital. They will no longer stay at home. So the medical team will take care of them. So majorly, they will go to the hospital to receive this kind of treatment for post-disease.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pei Fan Lin. So for the patient who had TB infection and also got COVID-19 infection, they will manage by the team, the healthcare team in the hospital. And the last question from Ms. Anita Ekawati. We know that the TB stigma is one of big problem, especially in Indonesia. From Taiwan experience, how to deal with this problem?
I think health education will be a solution. And I think that will be a quite effective solution in our experiences. Just I mentioned, the stigma and the discrimination is more common in the older age population. For example, the people like my age or the older my age, they are they have more stigma or discrimination on that. But as I just mentioned, that we have all level school health education for TB. So the school age kids, when they are in the elementary school, they already know this disease. So when they get older, they get more information about how it become the TB cases and how it transmitted and how can we prevent it. So that's no longer be a terrible disease, and they know how to deal with, and they know the skill to protect themselves. So I think the health education will be a good solution and very effective solution from our experiences to diminish this kind of stigma and the discrimination.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Van Lin. So for the management for manage the stigma in the population or the community, we can start or begin from the educational level since the children, so they know or they know well about how the TB the process of the TB infection. Okay. So, well, all the questions have been answered by the expert speaker today, Professor Van Lin. And before we move to the panel, we can conclude that the topic today, we can use the nursing care management, start from the prevention or early prevention and also early diagnosis. And also we can use all the resources and collaborating with the government to control the disease. And before we start our panel discussion today, may I ask for Professor Panlin to stay here with us in the Zoom to give the comment or suggestion for the three presenter. After this, we will have the discussion with the three oral presentation, and they will present their research. And could you give some comment or suggestion in the end of the presentation?
I'm sorry because I have another meeting right after this section, so I'm so sorry. Okay. If I know that I have the honor to do another comment, I will be willing to do it. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Professor. Okay, then you can leave and continue your next schedule. Thank you so much for today, Professor Van Lin.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah B. Thank you for all the colleagues, for all the audience. It's a pleasure for me to have this time together to share my experience and exchange. Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time, Professor. Okay, because our professor cannot join with us, but we have to still continue our panel discussion today. We have three presenters, and I will inform to you how the presentation will be going on. First, every oral presentation will presenting their research around 6 to 7 minutes each, and then followed by the question and answer session in the last presentation. So without any further ado, let me invite the first presenter, Nurse Hamidah Hadatnawardani from Universitas Bondowoso, with the research title, A Latent Tuberculosis Infection in the Hemodialysis Patient, a Systematic Review. Please welcome Nurse Hamidah Hadatno. The time is yours.
Okay. Good morning, this is Amelia. Thank you for this opportunity to me. Okay, let me share my PowerPoint now. Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like thanks to steering committee was conducting this International Nursing Conference 2020. And now I am Hamidah Ratnawardani. I will present my research about latent tuberculosis infection in hemodialysis patient, a systematic review. Okay. As we know that tuberculosis infection is one of the most infectious disease causes death in every year, and tuberculosis infection is one of the most infectious disease causes death until 1.6 million each year in 2017. But we know that WHO in 2019 was reported that he has the aim strategy to decrease and reduce transmission Mycobacterium tuberculosis to other people, with early detection and identification or treatment, proper treatment to individuals with latent tuberculosis infection. We know that LTBI or latent tuberculosis infection is a condition of dormant tuberculosis organism in the body. But we know that LTBI not bring up radiological sign, clinical symptom, and not contagious to other people. But WHO 2019 was reported also that 1/4 general population in the world has infected with Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Not only general population, we have to give uh, a more identification to a high risk group, such as patient with end-stage renal disease, because we know that patient with end-stage renal disease uh, experience immunity dysfunction and make this patient easier infected with other organisms like Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So the background from this research is how important of screening tuberculosis infection diagnostic tests such as tuberculosis test and quantiferon TB because CDC and WHO 2012 was recommended these two diagnostic to identification to in LTBI patient. So the objective from this research is to determine the prevalence of latent tuberculosis infection case in hemodialysis patient in dialysis center using two diagnostic. First is tuberculin skin test and the second is quantiferon TB gold. We can see at the bottom to this slide, we can see this is a tuberculin skin test with PPDRT 2030 23 SSI. Usually, healthcare worker inject this tuberculin about 0.1 milliliter to intradermal. So we can evaluate this tuberculin skin test after 24 until 48 hours after injected. The positive result from this tuberculin skin test is if diameter in duration more than 10 millimeter. This is the positive result from tuberculin skin test. And the right side, this is tube to examination quantiferon to be good. This is to examination for patient with latent tuberculosis infection with examination laboratory examination with calculate interferon gamma rate. The positive quantiferon TB gold if interferon gamma rate more than 0.35 international unit per milliliter. Okay, and the method from this research is we are using three major electronic database consists of PubMed, Embase, Google Scholar, and consists 44 correlate journal from PubMed, and 11 journal from Google Scholar, and 12 correlate journal from Embase. Research journal from 1997 until 2018 using keyword latent tuberculosis infection, hemodialysis, tuberculin skin test, quantiferon TB gold, and ESRD. And this research using systematic review to determine the prevalence of LTBI hemodialysis patient. We know that systematic review is a method research to analyze, to identification, to evaluation about research correlate. So this is a chart, a process, systematic review. We know that systematic review in this research have to do screening all journal as much 67, but we have to throw away or remove when we are find the same journal in the same database. So the second step, we have to screening again to identification, title, and abstract. And the third step, we have to screening again, full text article assessed for eligibility. And the last, we get for journal to evaluation and to identification for this research. So this is a table of content, the result of extraction data. The first journal is from Egypt, the second from Saudi Arabia, and the third is Spanish, and the fourth is from Taiwan. So total follow-up subject totally involving 516 patients with end-stage renal disease on hemodialysis center. So intervention, two-step tuberculin skin test, and quantiferon gold. And the result is from 67 related articles, we obtained 4 articles using the randomized control trial on RCT, and we have to involving 516 ESRD patients undergoing hemodialysis. This LTBI, we know that prevalence from LTBI still high because we are using 3 types to diagnostic this LTBI. First, the positive result from tuberculin skin test, but quantiferon negative. The second is the positive result quantiferon, but tuberculin skin test negative. And the third, tuberculin skin test positive and quantiferon positive. Conclusion, I think LTBI or latent tuberculosis infection with negative TST result cannot simply be ruled out because WHO give a recommendation that specificity from tuberculin skin test only 60% until 70%. But if we are using quantiferon gold, we have specificity until 90%, 19%. So we can decide or make decision to early detection using quantiferon gold and tuberculin skin test. So we know that latent tuberculosis infection in patient hemodialysis is very important to prevent progression of latent tuberculosis infection to be active TB. Maybe enough for me. And the last, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Thanks.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. Next, we move to the second presenter. Please welcome Nurse Elsa Suci Rohani from Akes Rustida with her research title, Use of Gadgets on the Development of Preschool Children in Banyuwangi. Nurse Elsa, are you ready? For Nurse Elsa, are you here with us? Okay, could you unmute your microphone so we could hear your voice?
Sudah. Iya, Bu. Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Then let me introduce. Okay, in advance, thanks to the moderator for your time. Then let me introducing myself. My name is Elsa Sucihar Rohani from Akas Pustida. Here I will present my journal with title Use Gadget on Development of Preschool Children in Kindergarten Nurul Fatah Banyuwangi. Introduction. The development of technology and information currently experiencing very rapid progress, characterized by the use of a gadget that is almost used by all individuals, both children and adults. If this continues to happen, fear will cause a child impaired social development among others. The child hurt in a recommunicating the lack of independence of the child in thinking or behavior. In Banyuwangi, number of preschool children who already have gadgets 60-30%, especially children living in urban areas. It also caused most of preschool children in the Banyuwangi community to lose their playing time, which is caused by them preferring to play gadgets at home than playing with children. Oh, we need to exercise and continuous use of gadgets. I will have an adverse impact on development and health of preschool children. In addition, it can also cause a lack of social mobility in children. They prefer to play gadgets than play with their peers. It is not uncommon for children to experience social development disorders because children have been forced into an unreal world, include video games, video anime on YouTube, and so on. Next, incident like this should be a concern for various parties, especially parents and teaching staff to increase awareness of preschool children in using gadgets as a medium of communication and play, especially for the family environment. The importance of the role of parents to accompany children in playing gadgets or limits children to using gadgets and at certain hours will have a good influence on children's development. This research is a qualitative research using cross-sectional method. The population in this study were 110 children and their parents, and sample children and their parents were using the purpose sampling technique. The instrument in this study is a questionnaire about the use of gadgets, children's development using the KPSP observation sheet media. Result, table 1, frequency distribution of respondents using gadgets in preschool age children. Based on table 1, that the use of gadgets in preschool age children form 18.6 respondents in the good category were 27 people. Moderate are 26 people and pure are 13.3 people. Table Table 2, frequency distribution of preschool children using KPSP table. Based on table 2, that in preschool children form 18.6 respondents in deviant category as many 13 people, top category were 38 people, and normal as many as 26 people. Table 3, the relationship between the use of gadget and development of preschool children. Based on table 3, above show that the relationship between gadget use and the development of preschool children is now from 18.6 respondents, there are 22 respondents with pure use of gadget and experience the use development. Eleven respondents with moderate use of gadget and experience the use development. And 18 respondents who use gadgets well experience normal development. Table 4, Spearman rank correlation test of the relationship between gadget as use development in preschool children. From the result of the Spearman rank correlation test using the SPSS for Windows version 26 program, it was found that the significant level of the value was 0.1 because was meaning that HO was reject and HA was accept. That is, there is a relationship between gadget use on the development of preschool children. Discussion. The use gadget in a preschool children based on table 1. It is now that the highest level of student use of gadget is pure, namely 13.3 respond. According to research by Maulida Hidayati 2013, children aged 4 until 6 years mostly use gadgets to play games such as cards, cooking, and war. This is based on the results of questionnaire number 3. I play gadgets to play games. In get respondents to answer very often. In addition, according to research by Gunawan 2017, children can only play gadgets for 30 minutes to an hour a day. This is based on questionnaire no 1 and 2. The result of respondent answering very often some parents limit their children to playing games and watching animated videos on gadgets for less than 1 hour, but children use them to play gadgets on gadgets for more than 3 hours. This is because parents are busy trying to make their children calm without disturbing them. This theory is in line with research by Nur Shahiha 2016, where gadgets are the second caregiver when parents are busy and do not want their children to interfere with their parents' busy life. Based on the fact and theory, the research assumes that preschool children with pure or excessive use of gadgets to play games or watch YouTube videos are caused by children who are not given a time limit in playing gadgets, and children are not accompanied in accessing the features in the gadget. Based on table 2, it is known that The highest level of development of preschool children is in the full category as many as 13 children, then in the deviant category as many as 22 children, while in the normal category as many as 26 children, according to Sarjano Research 2013. Development is an increase in body structure and function that is more complex in various aspects that include gross motor skills, fine motor skills, speech and language, as well as socialization and development independent that of course children can be influenced by several factors. Include genetics independent that occurs, genetics, environment factor, and motivation or support from around, especially support from parents and educators as companions, but at home and at school. In this case, respondents with the full category are mostly due to KPSP children have a score of 7 until 8. Some of respondents cannot distinguish color and draw on observation sheets. Children are more focused on their own world or talk alone. This is accordance with Trinica Theory 2000. Where excess use gadget can interfere with children development. Based on fact and theory that the full child development occurs due to genetic factors, environmental factors, children who are addicted to gadgets, and the lack of parental knowledge about child development. Another factor is the lack of children training in improving rote and soft motor skill in the environment and school, especially during pandemic COVID-19. The relationship between the use of gadgets on development of preschool children. From the result of the research with the Spearman rank correlation test using the SPSS for Windows 26 program was found that the significant level value was 0.1 because 0.4, then it means that there is a relationship between gadget use and child development according to research by Yeni Triastuti 2018. Children who play gadgets more often will have a negative impact on their development. This can happen if children play gadgets without assistance or direction from parents, so that children open features that are in accordance with their development stage. Based on facts and theories above, the research assumes that there is a relationship between the use of gadgets and the development of preschool children at Nurul Fatah Kindergarten Kalibaru, Banyuwangi, which is caused by excessive use of gadgets to play games and YouTube animation videos. Due to excessive use for playing games or watching animated videos and on gadget will have a bad impact on children. Conclusion. Development of children in the deviant category was 22 children. There were 38 children, and in the normal category as many as 26 children. Children who use gadgets to communicate, educate, play games, or watch animated videos on YouTube with a good frequency of 27 respondents, moderate of 26 respondents, and pure were 33 respondents. The relationship between the use gadget on the development of preschool children in Nurul Fatah Kindergarten Banyuwangi with a significant level of 0.1 because 0.4 5 means that there is an influence between the variable of gadget use and child development variables. Okay, so many presentation for me, then I will return it to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the informative presentation from Miss Elsa Sucirohani. And next, we move to the third presentation. Please welcome Nurse Zakia Yasin from Universitas Wiraraja Sumeneb with the research title, The Effect of Moringa Vegetable on Breast Milk Production in Breastfeeding Mother. The time is yours.
Thank you to moderator. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Allow me to introduction myself. My name is Zakia Yasin from Wiraraja University, Sumeneb. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will present about vegetable moringa. Okay. My research, the effect of moringa vegetable on breast milk production in breastfeeding mother in Sumeneb district. Okay. Mother often has problem inclusive breastfeeding. One of the main obstacles in the milk production that is not smooth. This will be a factor causing the low for of closing breastfeeding for newborn. Moringa leaf are plants that rich in nutrition, namely antioxidant, vitamin, mineral, amino acid, anti-inflammatory, and other. With such extraordinary nutrition content, moringa plants have potential to overcome various kids from malnutrition or undernutrition problem in toddler, pregnant woman, and breastfeeding mother. In Indonesia, the moringa plant is an ingredient that has landfallen to be development in food ingredient from breastfeeding mothers because it's phytosterol compound. In vaccine can help in the process of raising and launching the production in breast milk. Phytosterol compound in moringa leaf can help in the process increasing the level in prolactin and iron hormone, so that they provide many benefits for the growth and development of baby. Because the most ideal nutrition of for baby breast milk. Method research. This study is experimental study using a quasi-experiment design, namely to say the effect of bonding with method of linking the control group addition to experimental group. But the selection of these two groups didn't use a random method. The experiment group was given action and control group was not given action in this research design, but began with a pretest then after being given the action. It is necessary to measure again to measure the extent of the influence of the two variables. Sampling technique in this study using simple random sampling of 18 active population. The sample is the study where mother to this infant age 0 until 24 months. As many as 42 sample. 21 sample of the treatment group and 20 sample of the control group. Okay. Result. Based on the result of the t-test above, I can be sent that in the treatment group. Best milk production of the consuming moringa leaf vegetable for 18-day experiment in significant increase. Normally, 18 breastfeeding mother with effect value of active 4.78 in the control group for breast milk production. Who didn't use consume moringa leaf vegetable? Moderate, namely 30 breastfeeding. Meet a quick review of for 9.05. The result P value 0.00, smaller 0.05. I can be include there is effect of giving moringa live vegetable to best milk production in breastfeeding mother. Take 0 until 24 months in the work area of the Lekung Health Center, Sumeneb District. Okay. Inclusion, the production of breast milk before consuming moringa live clear vegetable in the treatment group, namely 50 milliliter until 80 milliliter. There were 12 people. Well, the control group saw the most of the result of breastfeeding mother were breastfeeding, namely sadly 0 milliliter until 50 milliliter. There were 30 people. One, breastfeeding production of the consuming the moringa leaf clear vegetable in the treatment group. It can be sent almost all of the mother's breast milk was 80 milliliter until 150 milliliter, as many as 18 people. Meanwhile, the control group who didn't consume the moringa leaf clear vegetable. It can be sent the most of the best milk production of breastfeeding mother was the result of breastfeeding for 18 days, namely 15 milliliter until 18 milliliter. There were 30 people. And then the result of the independent simple t-test, treatment post-test, moringa, and control post-test, vegetable were found the value 6, value p-value 0.00, smaller 0.05. It can be included that there is effect of giving moringa leaf clear vegetable on breast milk production in breastfeeding mother age 0 until 24 months in the working area the Lekung Health Center, Sumeneb District. Okay. Okay. Thank you, moderator. Terus 5-star beneficial for all for us. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much for the nice presentation. I'm sorry before I have some problem with my internet, so wait a minute. Okay. So, are there any participants who want to ask question to the three oral presenter today? Okay, from Mr. Ando Mangkulur from University of Muhammadiyah. Okay, already raise your hand and please, you can ask the question.
Thank you, moderator, for giving me a chance to speak in here. It's a honor to speak in here, and I want to ask to Miss Elsa for the her presentation about effect of gadget on for children. Okay, I follow the Miss Ella's presentation about the effect of gadget on children, and I think children which prefer like to using gadget for playing games. It's because maybe because they have a lot of love from their parents, so their parents the choice give they gadget from playing games, then educate or explore our information, or their parents not give a lot love or the child less love. That my question is, can you give ideas to child how to change their behavior? Because I look at that this is a new era of competition, which means in this era everything will be a test. The test from ideas, from social and development of technology and a new kind of society. I need ideas from Miss Elsa to give some change from the behavior, so we get a new solution about the stigma or problem in this nation, about the education, and get a more quality and more supportive. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. So please, Miss Elsa, could you answer the question about do you have any idea to solve or overcome to change the children behavior about using the gadgets? please. Miss Elsa, are you still here with us? Miss Elsa?
Yes.
Okay, could you answer the question?
My answer is before I said gadget that makes schedule for child yes, change behavior. An example for 10 a.m. until 10 a.m. until until 12 p.m. child use gadgets and child know not use the gadget.
Okay, that's the answer from Miss Elsa. How about Mr. Ando? Do you have any more question? Are you clear with the answer?
Actually, that's not answer my question. Okay, I can accept this thing. I can I can give for you to give education of the child. Don't give your child just learn about gadget or method of gadget. I need to know the people or the parents give their child more knowledge about the social and more knowledge from development of technology in their gadget. What is new about situation? What is new about development industry and another development? That's all. And thank you for chance.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Ando. So maybe we can change the behavior of the children if we can, the parents can give them more knowledge for them since the beginning, right? Okay, so are there any questions from other participants before we move to the next session? Okay, I think there is no more question. So finally, we come to the end of the fourth session. I would like to say thank you very much for all the oral presenter. And before we move to the next session, let me see the video by the committee. Okay, welcome to the fifth session, and this is also the last session of today's conference. And I will be the moderator of the fifth session as well. And this session, we will follow the same rule and also the same process of discussion, the same as I mentioned before in the fourth session. And before we start our discussion, let me introduce to you our speaker today is Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, co-depend committee, sharing the screen. Okay, here we are. He is our speaker in the fifth session today, Nurse Hendra Kurniawan, MCAT Trop. He is the PhD candidate from Konkan University, Thailand, and also the lecturer from Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Jember. Next. And here are the information related to our speaker today for the research experience. The first one, about the identifikasi pengetahuan remaja tentang VCT or voluntary counseling test, kemudian sindroma metabolik pada lansia, and identifikasi tingkat pengetahuan remaja tentang infeksi menular seksual, hubungan status nutrisi dengan infeksi cacing hati, Opistrochis vivarini di area endemic Northeast Thailand, macronutrient analysis in Ipomea patatas elpoiret as an alternative food in improving nutritional adequacy of pregnant women, potential inhibitor of COVID-19, mind protease, EMPRO from several medicinal plant compounds by molecular ducking study. And for the publication from his Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, the first one, interleukin 20 HB polymorphism and response of chronic hepatitis C patient from Indonesia to pegylated interferon or ribavirin treatment. And the second, buku ajar parasitologi untuk mahasiswa keperawatan, and sindroma metabolik pada lansia, studi pendahuluan riwayat vaksinasi BCG pada pasien anak dengan tuberkulosis paru, macronutrient analysis in Ipoma batatas elpoiret as alternative food improving nutritional adequacy of pregnant women, potential inhibitor of COVID-19, mind protease, EMPRO from several medicine plant compounds by molecular ducking study. And today he will discuss with us about the microbiota and tuberculosis infection and the perspective in the nursing research. So please welcome our speaker today, Mr. Hendra Kurniawan. The time is yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Aprilia Hanafi, for introducing myself so well. Thank you so much. Okay, I will share screen. I hope you can see my PowerPoint slides. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to the committee for the opportunity for me to become the last speaker for today's scientific meeting, and it's an honor for me just to deliver what in my mind and deliver to you all as the perspective of the study from a multidisciplinary area. And the topic that I will talk today entitled the microbiota, Mycobacterium tuberculosis infection and the perspective in nursing research. Okay, I will slide show. Okay. Firstly, we will explain about the introduction first that already explained by the previous speakers from yesterday's speakers and today's speakers from Professor Pei Fan Lin, that tuberculosis is the major public health problem until now, still the public health problem, and according to the data from WHO, that a total of 1.4 million people died from TB in 2019, and in the same year, in the same time, an estimated 10 million people fell ill with tuberculosis worldwide. And just to reminding you all the Indonesian citizenships that I believe that all of the participants in the last session is from Indonesia, mostly from Indonesia, that our country, Indonesia, is the second high burden TB country, accounted for 80% of new TB cases after India. And according to this, WHO and also from our government by the Ministry of Health of Republic of Indonesia did the intervention strategies such as like BCG vaccine and anti-TB drug. But the facts still approximately 1.8 million people still die every year, and increasing outbreaks of drug-resistant TB such as like multiple drug resistance or MDR, and then extensively drug resistance, and also totally drug resistance TB. And to understand the host factors that modulate susceptibility or resistance to Mycobacterium tuberculosis, a key parameter controlling susceptibility to TB is the balance between these two kinds of important thing, like the agent and also the host. From the agent side is the virulence factor of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis strain itself, and from the host side is the immune status. And if we want to date the immune status of the host, several factors such as host genetic background, gender, age, nutrition status, co-infection TB with HIV, and comorbid with diabetes mellitus might be the parameter. And the host microbiota as the become the main topic of my talk in the last session today. That this one, the host microbiota, which represent the entirely of microbial communities, might constitute an important role in the interaction of Mycobacterium tuberculosis infection and the host. And before I move to the next explanation about the topic that I will deliver to you, firstly, I want to remind you about the definition of microbiota itself, that the term of microbiota refers to the microbes that live in a specific location. For example, in the human body, in the gut, in the soil, in the lung, in the oral cavities, and etc. And if you read many papers or articles from many journals, that maybe you find the term microbiota or commensal bacteria. Actually, this is the same terminology, the same meaning between microbiota and commensal bacteria. So don't be confused about this kind of terminology, that commensal bacteria or microbiota is a beneficial bacteria that reside on host barrier surfaces such as the intestine, lung epithelium, also in the surface of our skin, also in the oral cavity, and etc. And the term of commensal implies that the bacteria benefit and the host is unaffected. So it seems like there is no harmful effect between the interaction of the bacteria and ourselves as the host. So if you remind about the term of mutualism symbiosis, yes, this is related to our topic today. And the commensal bacteria and the host have a mutualistic relationship in which both derive benefit from the interaction. And actually in these slides, the commensal bacteria at the interface of host metabolism and immunity, I will talk in briefly about this one. And anyway, the commensal bacteria regulate digestion by mediating bile acids metabolism, or bile acid synthesis, lipid absorption, amino acid metabolism, vitamin synthesis, and SCFA. SCFA is short chain fatty acids. So the commensal bacteria have the important role in the synthesis of short chain fatty acids as well. And I will briefly explain one by one to you. In the bile acid metabolism, the commensal bacteria participate in the synthesis of bile acids in two main ways. The first is commensal bacteria convert. This means that change the form from primary bile acid into secondary bile acids. And the second is commensal bacteria. They conjugate bile acids to rederive the unconjugated form. And some bile acids can regulate two receptors. This is important thing to our immune system, that bile acids regulate two receptors which highly expressed in monocytes and macrophages, and also bile acid signaling via these receptors is linked to a common anti-inflammatory response that important to our immune response to many agents that can infect us. The second is about amino acid metabolism, that commensal bacteria are important for the extraction, synthesis, or absorption of some amino acids, including alanine, aspartate, glutamine, and whatever until tryptophan, and some of amino acids such as arginine, leucine, glutamine, and tryptophan associated with the regulation of the immune system. The third, about the vitamin synthesis, some commensal bacterial species have the capacity to synthesize essential vitamins, especially vitamin B and K. And for information, actually there are 13 essential vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamin, or in Indonesia, vitamin yang larut dalam lemak, vitamin A, D, E, K, vitamin A, D, E, and K, and the water-soluble vitamins, vitamin yang larut dalam air, such as kinds of vitamin B from B1 to B12, and also vitamin C. And we know together that the vitamins is important to maintain our immune system actually. And the last, in the synthesis of short chain fatty acids, uh, the fact that CFA, or short chain fatty acids, are produced in the colon by bacterial fermentation, that indicating that commensal microbiota are essential for synthesis of this kind of fatty acids. And the role in immunologic system is SCFA regulate the immune system through GPR43, which highly express neutrophil, macrophages, and monocytes. And also this kind of fatty acids can promote neutrophil chemotaxis and its function. And SCFA appear to regulate production of pro-inflammatory cytokines in non-immune cells. We move to the next slides, that alterations in the gut microbiota, in the composition and caused by the changes of microenvironments such as the pH, anatomical site, the fermentation of dietary residue, is associated with the development of chronic respiratory diseases such as allergy, asthma, COPD, tuberculosis infections, and the other respiratory diseases. And this is resulting in immunological dysregulation. And we believe that it also related to lung immunity, particularly by the presence of lung microbiota in the lung itself. And the crosstalk, I mean the microbial link between lung and gut, between these two kind of environment, lung and gut, appear to be important in the communication and cooperation. So it means that between gut and lung can make the coordination and communication themselves to regulate the innate and adaptive immune response, and it's important in the prevention, pathogenesis, and the treatment of tuberculosis infections. Just to make you more clear about the scope of microbial link or crosstalk in the previous slides, let me explain in briefly that the gut microbiota can regulate lung immunity uh, by its ability from the gut epithelium and bacterial metabolites in regulation of ILC innate lymphoid cells, and also kind of cytokines produced, and also the activation of adaptive T and B cells. And the important thing about crosstalk or microbial link is the migration of the metabolite products and also cytokine products, cytokine production from the activation or regulation of the immunity migrate systemically from the gut to the lung uh, to create number five, the protective immunity and influence lung microbiota, and resulting number six is the ability to fight against mycobacterial infection. From this slide, I give you the picture or the figure from articles from Gupta et al. In 2018, but I don't want you to pay attention in every single detail or in every single component to uh, the details of the part of the component that I explained in this slide, that we can see between the gut and lung can create the axis indirectly in healthy state, that healthy microbiota can cause the immune regulation between this kind to of to environment between gut and lung, while the dysbiosis means like the imbalance between harmful bacteria and good microbiota. This is the term of dysbiosis, and dysbiosis can cause the immune regulation. In a healthy state, the gut microbiota regulates lung immunity and influence the lung microbiota. And the bacteria reside in the intestine, in the gut, that we call gut microbiota. And their metabolites, the bacterial metabolites, can regulate ILC or innate lymphoid cells. There are three kinds of innate lymphoid cells: 1, 2, 3. And directly or through cytokine produced by gut epithelium or dendritic cells, and the coordination between innate lymphoid cells 1, 2, 3 and dendritic cells in turn regulate adaptive T and B cells in the gut. And this is the important part of crosstalk itself, that the activation of adaptive immune system T cell and B cells with cytokines can migrate systemically to the lung. So it seems like the gut sent the army to support the infection by Mycobacterium tuberculosis that occur in the lung. So as I mentioned before, that the gut send the support system to the lung and make the coordination together with the lung microbiota, and also the immune response occur in the lung environment to fight against Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So this is the interesting part of the migration of the army from the gut to the lung to fight together and coordination together to fight against the Mycobacterium tuberculosis that infect the host, that infect us, that infect the human. Actually, The study or the research related to microbiota to human is limited, but I capture some studies, but this is limited to experimental animal model. And once again, I don't want you to pay attention to every single detail I inform to you in this slide about what kind of animal, what kind of intervention. Just keep attention to the result and conclusion. That the first paper that I want to deliver to you with the title that you can read in your screen, that the result of the first paper I capture to you is the microbiota protect against infection by diverse respiratory pathogens, and the microbiota enhance respiratory immunity via granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factors, and also stimulate extracellular signal regulate kinase to promote bacterial killing by alveolar macrophages. And also the result of this study is the receptor from the microbiota enhance the respiratory defenses. In the conclusion, the bacteria in upper airway and intestinal microbiota can promote resistance to lung infections. The second study, still in experimental animal model, results such as the commensal microbiota composition critically regulates the generation of virus-specific T cells and antibody responses following respiratory influenza virus infection, and intact microbiota provided signal leading to the expression of pro-interleukins at the steady state, and following influenza virus infection, the inflammasome activation led to migration of dendritic cells from the lung to the draining lymph node and T cell priming. And the conclusion is commensal microbiota is important in regulating immunity in respiratory mucosa through the proper activation of inflammasome. And the last for the study still in animal model, the result of this study is the microbiota dysbiosis increases early lung colonization by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And like I mentioned before in the previous slides, that the meaning of these biases is the imbalance between the harmful bacteria and the good bacteria. So this is imbalance. So that can increase the colonization of Mycobacterium tuberculosis itself in animal model. And the second microbiota dysbiosis correlates with impaired function of mate cells. Mate cells is mucosal associated invariant T cells during early lung colonization by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And the conclusion of the third paper is the microbiota contributes to early host defense against lung colonization by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, possibly via effector functions made lymphocytes. Okay, I believe that you are headache about this explanation about experimental animal model, but in the other perspective of another fields or area of nursing research related to the topic I explained about the microbiota, I found one paper entitled "The Human." Sorry, I cannot read this title, but this is in nursing science. But according to this paper, there is the microbiome question for nursing research actually, that I explained in the previous explanation, that microbiome in our body mostly reside in the oral cavity, lung, and gut. For the oral microbiome, something like a priority question for nursing research, like what sample location that we can take from the saliva maybe, or the tongue, from the buccal membrane or the plaque, and how does oral care influence the oral microbiomes, because this is our role as a nurse in clinical settings, right? To give the oral hygiene to the patient every day, maybe. So, and the next questions in the oral microbiome is, what is oral care, right? Regular toothbrushing, the power of toothbrushing. I mean the pressure of the pressure of ourselves to do toothbrushing, and also the chlorhexidine oral rinse or flossing that we know together. This is become the part of basic nursing care. And also the next is from the lung microbiome. How does the lung microbiome change in disease states of chronic obstructive lung disease or asthma, and in critical ill patients who are intubated? Maybe the priority questions is a tracheal aspirate representative of the lung biome? And the last maybe of the example of the question in nursing research is, how does the lung biome change in patients who are intubated, and how could this change influence in clinical care? And we know that this is become in the medical and surgical nursing area, and also in the emergency and critical care. And in the gut microbiome, kind of questions is like the changes in gut microbiome and depression in the elderly. And this is become the part of gerontic nursing. And the probiotic alleviates psychological condition. This is psychiatric nursing. And thus exposing babies born by cesarean section to maternal vaginal microbiome decrease incidence of disease. This is for you who work in maternity nursing area. And for the last, in pediatric nursing area, how rapidly does the microbiome change in neonates and young children? So actually, there are so many questions about microbiota that can relate to nursing research area, as I mentioned in this slide. And this is the direction for nursing research. Number one is for oral microbiome, that in this part of microbiota in the oral, this is rich area for multidisciplinary studies between nurse scientists, dentists, and the other professions. And the second is research is relatively more feasible because oral cavity is accessible, is easy to access. And nursing role is direct patient care, from routine assessment to providing oral care and patients educations. So the nurse scientists are especially well positioned to design studies examining this important biome in specific populations. Nurse scientists must think carefully about which sites in the oral cavity they should sample, with some considerations like interest and the aim of the study, training, and ease of the collection that become a consideration in the oral microbiome. And the second, in lung microbiome, this is challenging and many opportunities for clinical studies in both healthy individuals and those with diseases such as pneumonia and asthma. But we have some problematic in lung microbiome, that the procedure to take the specimens like bronchoscopy is risky, as well as the inability to identify bacteria using conventional culture method. And also the last is carefully study designs and outcomes, just to design a less invasive route of effective sampling the lung microbiome. And the third, in gut microbiome, one of the most studied biomes, and the gut contains the greatest number of organisms. And disruption of the normal bacteria community, like imbalance that I mentioned before, or gut dysbiosis, has been implicated in irritable bowel syndrome or IBS. So maybe this is my last slide that I want to make a closing statement to you what nurse should do in this kind of research area related to the microbiota. The first is we have to uh, we must have the fundamental knowledge of interested area of the study. Every area that we interest to want to explore and to do a research, we must have the fundamental knowledge about it. And don't forget, the second is do the preliminary study first, so we can know the strength and the weakness about the study or the research that we will conduct. And after do the preliminary study, don't forget to create or make the careful planning and multidiscipline collaboration between our profession as a nurse, with medical doctor, with microbiologist, with the dentist, or other related profession that can make the collaboration with us. And the last part is conduct the research. And after conduct the research, we can get the result and analyze the data we can get from the results. And the next part is publish our work in the journal, so the public can know the result, the valuable result of our work, and not only in our country in Indonesia, but maybe the people worldwide can write our publication of the results. Uh, the publication itself have the important role in creating the evidence-based nursing practice, especially with some considerations like liability for harms, standard of care, scope of practice, collaboration, supervision, monitoring effects, quality assurance, and also the cost. Okay, I think this is my presentation that I can deliver to you. I will send the opportunity to the moderator back to Miss Aprilia Afidatul Hanafi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, for giving us the interesting presentation. And also, this topic is very help us as a nurse to more understanding deeply about the microbiota and tuberculosis and what we as a nurse can do in the future research. And now we come to the question and answer session. Are there any participant who like to ask Mr. Hendra Kurniawan directly? Please welcome. And while waiting for the other question, we have already question here. May I read the question for you, Mr. Hendra?
Yes, please.
Okay, the first question from Rizky Amelia. The question is, how effective vitamin for increasing immune system? Have we consumed vitamin every day? Please, Mr. Hendra.
Okay, thank you. Actually, our body have limitation to absorb the vitamins. So we must know the limit of the amount of the vitamins that can absorb by the body. For example, in the vitamin C, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, that our body just can absorb in uh, a daily just 5 milligram in a day. So if we consume more than 5 milligrams, it will exclude by the urine So I think the first thing that important to know to us is the limitation of our body to absorb the vitamins to make the maximum or optimal the function of the vitamin to increase or enhance our immune system. I hope that my answer can satisfy you, Rizky Amelia. Maybe I forget.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, for the answer. And I hope that answer can answer clearly the question from Ms. Rizky Amelia. So the conclusion of the answer is in our body, we have the limitation, how much per day, the amount, how we can, our body can absorb the vitamin. And next to the second question is from Mr. Ando Mangkulur with the question, how to stimulate the immune system to produce more antibodies for TB patient, which is the patient live in limited health facility. Okay, please, Mr. Hendra.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the focus of the question is in the TB patient that live in limited health facilities. I mean, something like the patient live in the urban area maybe. So I think this is related to the previous topic presented by Professor Pei Fan Lin from the Taiwan, that many things that can we use as the enhancer for our immune system, such as for ourselves, maybe we can maintain our daily life, such as like how long or how many times we sleep, we take sleep, like, and also the nutrition that can consumed by us, that we can get from many resources, like in the rural area there are so many herbal plants that can we use to increase our immune system. And also the important thing is related to the previous question from Rizky Amelia, that the consumption of the vitamins, I mean, if we cannot consume the vitamin in the chemical part, like we can buy in the drugstore or many things, and in the pharmacy, maybe we can use the herbal medicines in around our home, like using the like consume the vegetables or the fruits and many things that can increase our immune system.
Okay, thank you for the answer from Mr. Hendra Kurniawan. I hope that answer can answer clearly the question from Ando Mangkulung. So we can change our behavior to increase our immune. For example, we can taking care of our duration of sleep or our nutrition. So that can be increase our immunity.
Yes, Miss April. And don't forget to be happy, Miss April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the important thing. We have
because
to be happy.
Release the hormone that can suppress our immune system.
Yes.
Yeah, don't forget to be happy. Everything that we can do, like doing a sport or watching the TV or doing the something that we like.
Especially in our condition right now, right, Mr. Hendra? We have COVID pandemic, and maybe all of us stressful with that condition, but we have to keep happy to increase the immunity. Okay, so we move to the next question from Ms. Anissa Noraini. The question is, what can be developed in nursing standard care of tuberculosis? Thank you.
What we can develop in nursing standard care? nursing standard care. Okay, in what we can develop in nursing standard care. Actually, this is related to the topic, to the yesterday's topic by Professor Yang from Thailand, and also from Professor Pei Fan Lin in the previous talk, that I think if I can conclude from this two talks from Thailand and also from Taiwan, uh, the thing that can sorry, can you repeat the question, Miss April?
Okay, wait a minute, Mr. Hendra. Okay, the question is, what can be developed in nursing standard care? Maybe
Okay.
related to the nursing management or something.
Okay. In the perspective of the topic related to microbiota and also the application in nursing standard care, what can develop the nursing standard area? The first thing that I want uh, to give the statement to you, that we have to, as I explained in the last slide, we must have the fundamental of the fundamental knowledge of the area that we interest to study or to explore. This is the first thing that important to do by the nurse in order to resulting the evidence-based nursing practice, that before that we must conduct the research first to to uh, to produce the evidence-based nursing practice. So the important thing, how to develop nursing standard care, is the fundamental of the knowledge of the study area that we interest to explore. This is the first, this is the most important thing from my perspective, Miss Aprilia.
Okay, thank you so much for Mr. Hendra. So if we want to develop a nursing standard, we have to have the evidence base, right, to support our
Yes.
topic. And so we move to the next question from Muhammad Rizki. How the relationship psychological with the microbacteria in TB patient?
Relationship of psychological.
Yes, with the microbiota in the TB. Maybe he want to ask about, is there any relationship, and if there, how the relationship about between psychological and microbiota?
Okay, thank you, Miss April. So far, after I explored many articles, many papers worldwide that I explore about microbiota and the relationship with uh, uh, between one environment with another environment. The the relationship that explored by the scientists worldwide so far just uh, just limited to the environment by the environment in the gut and lung, the environment, and just limited number in psychological area. And it is promising actually for us to explore this area in the next future research, Miss April. Maybe Mr. Risky can be the first person that can explore the relationship of microbiota in psychological something area. So like I told you that this is the actually the promising for ourselves access in the work of science to publish our work, just to make ourselves as a nurse equal to other profession, because we have a new evidence-based practice according to the research that we conduct.
Okay, thank you so much for Mr. Hendra Kurniawan for the answer. And there is a limited number of research that support about the relationship of psychological, but this is also the opportunity for us as a nurse to explore more about this topic for the future research. Okay, are there any question from the participant? If there is no more question, we will move to the next program, that is oral presentation. We have 3 oral presenter in this session, and please, Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, to give some comment or feedback or suggestion in the end of the presentation.
Sure, Ms. April. Thank you.
Okay, so let me invite the first presenter. Please welcome Nurse Rifki Hamdani from Fikes Jember with his research title Daily Activity and Hypertension Hemodynamic Status in the Elderly. The time is yours. Nurse Rifki Hamdani.
Okay, moderator. Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Happy greeting to all of us. My name is Rifki. I'm Rifki Hamdani, Faculty of Health Science Muhammadiyah University of Jember. On this sunny day, I will present material daily physical activity and hemodynamic status of hypertension in the elderly. Introduction. Hypertension is one of the cardiovascular diseases, which is the #1 cause of death in the world every year. Heart and blood vessel disease, cardiovascular is the most important and serious, and heart problem is not controlled because until now the cases are still very high, and the most survey are in the development and developing countries. Hypertension is the elderly need more serious attention. In addition to the decreased elasticity of the patient blood vessel, hypertension is a manifestation of hemodynamic balance disorder of the cardiovascular system, in which the pathophysiology is multifactorial that plays a role in the incidence of complication of other cardiovascular disease such as neurology, kidney, and blood vessel disease. Adequate and regular physical activity in an effective way to help lower blood pressure in elderly people with hypertension. Regular and sufficient physical activity can strengthen the heart muscle so that the heart can pump more blood with minimal effort. The result of several studies report that uncontrolled hypertension can cause a 7 times greater rate of having a stroke, 6 times more likely to have congestive heart failure, and 3 times more likely to have an attack failure. Method. This study correlation research designed with a cross-sectional study approach, namely data collection is carried out at one time, both of the independent variable and the dependent variable. The sample is this study was the elderly and the social service Jember unit who had been diagnosed with hypertension. The sampling technique used with total sampling with a total population of 35 respondents. The research instrument used a questionnaire and observation set. Statistical test using Superman row with a significant level is the p-value is less than or equal to the value of 0.05, mean a significant relationship. Table 1. Distribution of the frequency of daily physical activity performed by elderly and aware the Jember Social Service Unit. Based of the table above, most of the daily physical activity carried out by the elderly at the aware the Jember Social Service Unit, namely moderate physical activity, amounted no 10 respondent with a percent of 51.4%. Table 2, frequency distribution of hypertension hemodynamic experienced by the elderly and aware the Jember Social Service Unit. Based on the table above, mode of the hemodynamic hypertension experienced by the elderly at the aware the Jember Social Service Unit, namely moderate hypertensive hemodynamic, amount to 10 respondent with a percent of 45.7%. Table 3, the relationship of daily physical activity with hemodynamic hypertension in the elderly at aware the Jember Social Service Unit. Based of the table above, statistical result using Superman row tested 35 respondents obtained a p-value of 0.002 less than 0.05 with a r-value of 0.496 is positive, so that the relationship between the two variables is unidirectional or type on unidirectional relationship. Discussion. Physical activity in this movement uplift the gas causal energy expenditure to and mental health, as will maintain quality of life to stay healthy and fit throughout the day. Physical activity has a very important role, especially for people with the elderly. Physical activity directly related to hypertension. Study results show a very high prevalent rate of lack of physical activity among older adults 60 years in rural Southwest China. Correspondingly, this major determinant of blood pressure lead to a higher prevalence among the population studied. Reported prevalence in China of 44.6 until 60.1%, and a worldwide prevalence of 33 until 59% among individuals aged 40 until 79 years. Hypertension is a condition in which a person experiences an increase in blood pressure above normal, which result in an increase in morbidity and mortality, including clinical signs of hemodynamic imbalance of a cardiovascular system, where the increase in caused by several factors or many factors, so that is cannot to cannot be diagnosed with only on single factor, with only on with only one single factor. Conclusion: daily physical activity carried out moderate physical activity, experience moderate hypertension hemodynamic, and found a significant relationship between daily physical activity and hypertension hemodynamic in the elderly and the Tresnawar social service unit. Suggestion: the elderly are recommended to the physical activity according to their physical condition and minimize the increase in blood pressure such as short distance walking, cleaning the room, the environment, jogging, brisk walking, and can be done for a minimum duration of 150 minutes or 30 minutes every day of the week. Nurse and homestead supervisor regulate the grouping of the elderly, terribly facilitating treatment activities and eating pattern that are in accordance with physical condition and increasing hours of what are complaint of the elderly in order to minimize the increase in blood pressure. Thank you very much for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the informative presentation. Now we move to the second presenter. Please welcome Ms. Della Nur Mutmainah Kolbi from Fikes Jember with her research title, The Role of Information Sources on Diet and Physical Activity in Adolescent at Muhammadiyah University of Jember. For Ms. Della Nur Mutmainah Kolbi, time is yours.
Thank you, Miss. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I am Della Nur Kolbi, and today I will present about our team research, and title is The Role of Sources Information Towards Diet and Physical Activities in Adolescents at University of Muhammadiyah Jember. And this is our presentation. What do you know about adolescents? Adolescents grow fast physically, psychologically, and intellectually. Adolescents have very high curiosity. They love challenge activities psychologically as well as intellectually. They also tend to do something without thinking previously about what hazards are waiting them. They don't take consideration, so if they do wrong, they will fall into risk character and behavior and should endure the negative impact for short or long term about any problem, especially for physical health and psychosocial. In this millennial era, where globalization increasingly developed, source of information also increase and give impacts to humans, especially to adolescents. And I have two sources here. According to Eden 20 and 12, some health-related adolescents risk behavior are diet and physical activities. And then from SDKI 20 and 17, that are sons that 81% of unmarried women who are 17 until 24 years old and 77% of unmarried men watch television at least once a week, but only 15% women and 14% men who read newspaper and magazine. Now, if adolescents are falling into black hole, they will misuse search information about alcohol and drug. And there's so many adolescents in Indonesia that consume alcohol and drug. And it's proven by SDKI that 88% women and 86% men use the internet, and the most common type they search information is about alcohol and drugs. Next, please. How our research progressed too. Our team have 1,884 students for population, and we have sample for about 320 students. And the analytical research through impact sources of information we got from TV, magazine, internet, and from radio. And data collections we used by questionnaires that are distributed electronically. Next, please. How do we process our data? We have 6 step-by-step here. There are cleaning, scoring, categorizing, tabulating, input data, and last, we need to analyzing by multiple logistic regression. Next, please. This is our respondents based of gender. As we can see on the table that our total respondents are 365 respondents, and most of respondents are female, that is 299%, and male 136%. Next, please. And here's we analyzes our research. Next, please. From that research, we know that from analyzing the role of source information towards adolescents' diet, we know that finally the newspaper information, internet information, and radio information sources about healthy eating patterns will simultaneously increase healthy eating patterns by 4 units from previously. So there is a positive impact of exposure about newspaper information sources on adolescents' diet. And then we also knew from analyzing the role of sources information towards adolescents' physical activities that newspaper information and television information will simultaneously increase physical activity by 2 units from previously. Source of information in this case also about newspaper and television, so that are related to adolescents' knowledge about physical activity. Next, please. That's why we do our research, because in Indonesia, we found that there are so many adolescents that fall into black hole and they misuse about uh, sources of information. And our conclusion is media information have changed adolescents' life, and media information also give big impact to help adolescents about finding their ideas, about their diet and physical activities. Either it is a positive or negative. So that's all about our research presentation. I do apologize for any mistakes. Thank you for your attention. I give back this time to you, Miss. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Miss Dela for interesting presentation. Next, we move to the last presenter of this session. Please welcome Nurse Eric Kusuma from FKUP Universitas Jember, Prodi Pasuruan, with the research title, The Effect of Buteyko Breathing Technique and the Asthma Exercise on the Asthma Symptom among Patients with Asthma. For Nurse Eric, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the time given to me. It's an honor for me to be able to be scientific. It's been an honor for me to be able to join the International Scientific Meeting in Nursing 2001 as an oral presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will briefly present my research about the effect of Buteco breathing techniques and asthma exercise on asthma symptoms among patients with asthma. Asthma is a chronic inflammatory disease of the airways and is on the increasing trend owing to air pollution and urbanization. The use of alternative ways of treatment that are as efficacious as standard treatment is needed. This study aimed to assess the effect of Buteco breathing techniques and asthma exercise on reducing asthma symptoms among patients with asthma. A quantitative approach with true experimental design was adopted for the study. Simple random sampling technique was adopted to select 18 samples for the study, 9 samples each for the experimental and control groups. The experimental group were taught Buteco breathing techniques, while the control group were taught asthma exercise. The duration of the study was 2 weeks. The effects were assessed using the weekly asthma symptoms questionnaire to measure asthma symptoms that occurred for 1 week, including coughing, shortness of breath, wheezing, chest tightness, and disturbed sleep. The dependent test was used to see the difference in asthma symptom scores at the initial and final visit of the second week in both groups. Independent t-test was used to determine the difference in the decrease of asthma symptom scores between the experimental and control groups after 2 weeks of action. The study showed that there were a significant difference in asthma symptom score at the initial and final visit of the second week in both groups, Buteco and asthma exercise with p-value 0.00. However, in experimental group, the decrease of asthma symptom scores were more significant, with eta squared 0.99 compared to 0.94 in control group. So it was concluded that the Buteco breathing technique was more effective than asthma exercise in reducing asthma symptoms with p-value 0.00 and 0. And this is the table 1. We see here the mean difference of asthma symptom score between the groups. We see that in initial visit score, the Buteco group or the experimental group has a mean score 7.33, while in the end of the second week, the score of experimental group is 2.11, while in the control group, the initial visit score is 7, while the score in the end of second week is 3.67. And this is table 2, the analysis of asthma symptom score between the groups. You see that the mean difference in Buteco group or in experimental group in the initial visit score and the end of second week score is 5.222, while the control group, the asthma exercise, is 3.333. And we see here that the ETA score in Buteco group is 0.99, while in the control group is 0.94. You see here that the ETA score in Buteco group is higher than the ETA score in the control group. The discussion, Buteco breathing technique is good for asthmatic patient because it can improve lung ventilation of asthmatic patients, so asthma symptoms can be reduced. The Buteco breathing technique can reduce asthma symptoms if practiced regularly. By breathing slowly and shallowly through the nose, normal levels of carbon dioxide in the blood can be maintained. Carbon dioxide causes dilatation of blood vessels and muscles, thereby reducing the occurrence of bronchospasm and causing relaxation of smooth muscles in the bronchial walls, which then reduce the appearance of wheezing. Thus, the Buteco breathing technique can improve the physiological state of the lungs in asthmatic, accompanied by a decrease in hyperventilation due to the loss of carbon dioxide during an asthma attack. And the conclusion from my study is Buteco breathing technique was found to be more significantly effective on reducing asthma symptoms among patients with asthma. Thank you. That's all, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you so much for the informative presentation. Now we come to the answer and question and answer session. Are there any participant want to ask to the speaker or the presenter today? And while waiting for the question, I would like to ask Mr. Hendra, do you have any comment or suggestion for our three presenters today in this session?
Yes, Ms. April. For the second presenter, Miss Della, I interested to the topic you presented about the adolescent something in getting information about the diet something, and I just want to ask one question to Miss Della. As the adolescent, I believe that you are still adolescent, right? How to control yourself in the use of your social media in getting the information of the diet or something that related to your topic, to your talk, how to control.
Okay, please, Miss Della, are you still here with us? Miss Della?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please answer the question from Mr. Hendra about how you control yourself using the source of information regarding the diet.
Okay, thank you for your questions, Mr. Hendra.
Oh, I think Miss Della have some problem.
Okay, no problem. Miss April.
Oh, she cannot unmute the microphone. Maybe the host can help. Okay.
Okay, I will answer. What I can do to control myself from information about from sources information about diet. Actually, when I search information about diet, certainly from I searched diet information from links that it is verified from verified links. So I can what is that? So I can trust the link before. So I can trust the link before I take the diet information, and I can search any informations about anything if I can believe the sources of that information, like that, Mr. Hendra.
Okay, thank you, Della.
Yeah, thank you.
And I have comments to the last presenter, Miss April.
Yes, for Miss Eric. Yes, Miss Eric Kusuma.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon, Miss Eric Kusuman. It's nice to see you here.
Thank you, Mr. Hendra.
Actually, to be honest, uh, I just hear about the Buteyko breathing technique itself. Thank you for this valuable information that you share to us today, Nurse Eric. And I just curious why you select the duration of 2 weeks. Is there any study before about the Buteyko breathing technique with the different duration? Uh, I mean, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Hendra.
Yes.
Okay, various research have been conducted to study the effect of Buteyko breathing techniques in asthmatic patient. Buteyko is such a breathing technique which can cause the increasing level of carbon dioxide in our blood. And from the previous research, I studied that this breathing technique is effectively if conducted for 2 weeks. That was minimal time to do Buteyko breathing technique. I suggest that maybe if there are another researcher want to study about the Buteyko, maybe they can prolong the time more than 2 weeks. But 2 weeks is minimal. If the research is conducted in 1 week, the symptom or the decreases of asthma symptom score may be what can I say? Cannot be observed in 1 week study. So 2 weeks is minimal time to do the study.
Okay, Nurse Eric. And according to the pandemic situation like now, in the pandemic of COVID-19, that everyone is curious about the level of oxygen saturation themselves. Yeah. Can we apply this kind of Buteyko breathing technique to the patient with COVID-19, or you have suggestion to another researcher to do this one according to its function related to hyperventilation in maintaining the level of carbon dioxide. What is your perspective about the saturation, the level of saturation of oxygen in the patient in the pandemic era, like now? This is my very last question, Nurse Eric. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hendra. Buteyko is originally is assigned to maintain the breath while the asthmatic patient is experience hyperventilation. But I think in COVID-19 patient which have saturated oxygen is low, under 95, maybe Buteyko breathing technique can be used to improve the relaxation of the muscles of the respiratory system. So you know that COVID-19 patient experience deep snoo, yes, and the Buteyko technique, I think it can be practiced to decrease the level of deep snoo in asthmatic patient, because as I explained it to you before, that Buteyko with decrease the frequency of breathing, and also decrease the depth of breathing, it's shallow breathing, it can increase the level of carbon dioxide, then in the end it can reduce the dyspnea in a patient. So I think it can be apa practice in patient with COVID-19.
Oh,
I
thank
think
you
that's
so
it.
much. Thank you so much, Nurse Eric, for valuable information you shared to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Such a interesting topic and interesting discussion for today, right? We can share our knowledge and also gain more knowledge each other. And finally, we come to the end of the 5th session. Again, I would like to thank to our speaker today, Mr. Hendra Kurniawan, and also for all the oral presenter. And I also would like to apologize if any mistake that I made, and I hope that we can meet each other again in another occasion. That's all for me. I return back the time to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to the presenters, Ms. Pai Fan Lin from Yuanpei University Medical Technology Taiwan, and Mr. Hendra Kurniawan from Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember, Indonesia. And also, I would like to thank to Nurse Aprilia Afidatul Hanafi as Cap MNS as a moderator in this our amazing discussion. The last plenary session has delivered. Before we're going to the next session, I would like to announce to all participants that committee will check your registration, attendance in day 1 and day 2, and also evaluation on our second day. Kami mengumumkan kepada peserta bahwa panitia akan melihat kesesuaian antara registrasi, kehadiran pada hari pertama dan kedua, serta evaluasi pada hari kedua. Terima kasih. The next agenda, we will announce the best oral presenter and the best poster. we will have 15 minutes break and we will continue 15 minutes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Now, the next agenda, we will announce the best oral presenter and the best poster. And the best oral presenter goes to congratulations, Ms. Wantia Eskep Emkes as the best presenter with title COVID-19 Public Knowledge and Perspective Behavior from Universitas Jember. Please applause for Ms. Wantia. Next, the best poster goes to Laviana Nita Ludianti SK MT with title And next, I would like to invite Ms. Sofia Rosmadewi as MKes as a Vice Dean of Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember to deliver closing speech and officially close our conference.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Thanks for the time that has been given to me. I'm here representing the Dean of Fikes Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember. He is apologized that he cannot be with us today because he has to deal with another agenda. And before we close this meeting, I would like to thank to all of the co-hosts for a very good cooperation during the preparation and the implementation of this scientific nursing meeting. And for all the speakers that has been share the knowledge with us, and all of the presenters, and of course the participant that has been participate and actively involving in a discussion with the speakers and the presenters. And last but not least, I want to thank to all of the committee for all of the hard works. And so thank you so much for all the supports, and see you in another scientific meeting in the future. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Ms. Sofia Rosma. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we are in the end of our International Scientific Meeting in Nursing 2021. As a Master of Ceremony, I am Dia Ayu Nur Fadila, would like to apologize for any mistake in delivering this event. And see you on the next year conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.